Good evening and welcome everyone to a Hull Seahawks special in partnership with Beverly FM Sport. And we're very excited that myself and Martin are joined by two very special guests. We'll start off with Matty Davis, of course, head coach and GM of the Hull Seahawks, joining us from the sunny lands of Tenerife. You've got a lovely plant behind you, Matty.
Yeah, it's fake. Don't get too excited. Nah, yeah. A little bit burnt, so standard. But yeah, we're here. We get it done either way. So
Just
yeah,
shows
thanks
Matty,
for having us.
not a problem. Just shows Matty's commitment, doesn't it? That he's joining us all the way from his, lovely family holiday.
I don't think we can go for special guest anymore. We might as well just call him a co-host these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're basically a weekly thing now, aren't we? The boys.
Maybe the case. Who knows? Maybe the case one day. But we're also joined very luckily by the not new signing, returning signing, both assistant coach and defenseman Chris Wilcox. Thanks for joining us on Beverly FM, Chris.
Hi guys, no worries, no problem.
Of course, the news broke today for most people. For the lucky few in the supporters club, the news broke yesterday evening as well. That Chris has re-signed with the Hull Seahawks, not only to play, but also staying on as assistant coach as well. So we'll start off with yourself, Matty. Of course, I'm sure it's been in your long-term plan for a very long time that, Chris would not only be part of, your off-ice team, but on the ice as well. How glad are you that that's the case?
Yeah, I said this like last season a lot, but Chris was probably either one or second people that I contacted first when this was all sort of finalized and done. I knew I needed somebody with me basically to help, and this is a big operation, and to do everything on your own is just impossible. So me and Chris go back a long way, and we've played together for a long time. We know each other very well, and he knows me very well, that's the key to this situation. I said, to Chris, early on that, if anyone can sort of, calm me down, I guess, or sort of understand my ways of doing things, then it's probably him. And last season was, it proved to be, great, and I thought, at times we worked really well. And I think, last year was obviously a tough one, and we'll probably get into that a little bit more. But just with the bodies and the amount of people that we just didn't have, Chris did an unreal job for us, and he was basically doing everything. Playing D, playing forward, bench coach. He was head coach, and that's just what it takes. And for me, I'm forever grateful for all them lads from last season. I've said it already, but I'll never forget sort of the group of people that went through what we went through last year, and only they know how hard it was at times. Going down to MK and Bristol and all these places with 10, 11, 12 guys, and I'm asking kids essentially to play against the best players in the league at times, and it's really hard, mate. It's tough. And Chris was always there for me and for the boys. The lads all respect him, and he's been around for so long now. He knows the game so much, and we always joke about his dad and Reggie Wilcox. He's he's been around even longer, but he comes from really good parents, and he's just a great lad, and I'm lucky. Me and Joe really lucky to have him, and it's obviously a no-brainer for us, and I think he's fully committed to us and what we're trying to do.
Of course, Chris, you've spent some time obviously with the Pirates a few years back, obviously returning, from Widnes to be back with the Seahawks last year. Throughout your time in that assistant coach / player role last year, did you see that for the next few years, maybe at least, that's going to be the perfect role for yourself? You're still certainly, making a big impact on the ice, but also able to just help and guide, some of the other players along, and, use your experience as a coach to help and support Matty.
Yeah, I think so, and that's the plan. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those young guys that Matt is talking about, so I don't have that long left, I think, in playing. So it is starting to think about that transition into the coaching, and last year was the perfect opportunity to jump on, not only get back to playing in Hull, because obviously with being in Widnes, it was a long way and long bus journeys with Stubbs, but it was starting to help Matty as well, and help the city. You know, I'm not from Hull, but I've lived in Hull for a long time, and I still get that feeling of playing in that hometown club, which is really nice.
In terms of on the ice, then last year, of course, got a lot of ice time. You played in 53 games, over the season. Barely missing one. In terms of yourself and your performance as a player, should we say, first of all, how do you think last year went? Do you think it's, there's more to come this year? I know you said you think you're nearing the end of the career, but a lot of people who watched from the stands last year might not think so. We saw some great performances, throughout the season. A few points picked up later in the year as well. I'm sure that'll put a few smile on not only your face, but a few people's as well. Of course, with this team, a lot of key signings already added, a lot more to come, in the lead up to September. On what most people will say is a much better Seahawks side already this year. Do you think you can make even more of an impact on that side of the ice?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually really happy with how I played last year. I thought particularly to the back end of the season, I'm never going to put up points. I never have done. So that's not my role. I think, I'm always happy if people don't really notice me out there. That's a good night for me, because I am just I think steady, nothing special going to happen. So when I do chip in with those points, yeah, it's nice for me as well. I think like you just alluded to there, the lads that we've already signed back and the new lads that have come in, we're going to be a completely different team next year, and that's really exciting. And pretty much everyone you speak to that knows a bit about it is getting really excited for the start of the year. Last year, as Matty said, was tough, and we had times where we were really short on bodies, and you travel into these teams and you look down the other end in warm up and there's loads of them, and then you look at ours and it's like, oh, we've got more pucks than players. So but I think the thing that kept us going, we actually had a really good dressing room. We had a great bunch of lads last year, and yeah, there was the disagreements. There was that's normal, and I think that's just because everybody wants to win. But if we can have that again next year with the caliber of players that are coming in and coming back, I think we're gonna turn a lot of people over and raise a few eyebrows. That's for certain.
Of course, Martin's got a quick question. And of course, this is for yourself, Matty. I know it's something that we've mentioned over the last couple of weeks, but about how a key focus this year will be on the defence. I'll throw it over to Martin now before I spoil his thunder.
Yeah, absolutely. No, just touching on the fact that you running really low on the ground last season, especially when it comes to D-men and stuff. Now that you've got 5 signed up now, how much of a difference does that make? And obviously, you've still got work to do, but obviously this team is better this year in the sense of it's getting the opportunity to build properly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I said this, I think, last week, and one of the things for me this season was, at times we were just a little bit too easy to play against, and look, that can be down to a number of things, but for me, I knew that, at the end of the day, I thought Geordie at times was probably our best player, and that's often not a good thing. There was times when he needed to be, really, really good. He's kept us in games, and we was just giving up too much, too many great opportunities against good teams and good players, and it's, you can't keep doing that. So it was just one of them things that we just didn't have the bodies. There was lads playing way too many minutes. And it was just disjointed. We had, Pollock was jumping back in D, Willie was jumping forward. We had 2 ways coming in, and it was just a little bit all over the place. And, me and Chris obviously talk about, the way we play and what we're trying to do, and be, quite, progressive with our game and step in and sort of, hem teams and sort of keep the puck in their end and just be a fast hard team to play against, and you just need numbers to do that. You need more bodies, and the idea is this year I'll have six D-men, and 6 D-men will play. And that's what I think every good team has. There's teams in this league that roll 4 lines, and I think me and Chris had a conversation the other week, but everyone every year says, "Oh, Telford, they're not great. They don't have any superstars, let's say, or the best players in the league." But every year they get to Coventry, or they win the league, or something like that, and simply down to 2 things, in my opinion. It's coaching. I think Tommy's the best coach in the league, and I think second to that is they play very smart in terms of they'll roll 4 lines, or they'll play 1-2-3, 1-2-3-4 all season against, they'll cut the bench if they need to at the end of the game, but they're playing that against every team. And the difference that makes later down the line when you get to Christmas and the tough days in January after Christmas, when it's just the slog is happening, and that them minutes that have not been logged by them top players, let's say, that it really pays dividends in the end when you need a PP goal, and you just don't have the juice, you don't have the legs to go and actually do it. And that was the biggest thing that I wanted to address. And look, I wanted to bring in some better quality as well, and that's just natural. And I think we've got some really good players coming in this year, and like Chris says, we're a different team, and with the same identity in terms of, Chris is right, we had a great room, and everything will be, you'll get the same from the lads. It'll be hard work. We aren't going to come in and try and beat teams at shinny and all that sort of stuff. It's going to be hard work, and we're going to be a tough team to play against, and we'll play fast and hard. And that is a game that I want to see, and that also is a game where you do need bodies to do that. So yeah, that's key for me.
My next question is for you then, Chris. Obviously, we've already known Matty's opinion on the 2 new D-men that we've got in Thomas Barry and Liam Danskin. So I wanted to know your thoughts really about how you think about coaching them, but also playing alongside them.
I think it'd be nice to firstly have the bodies on. Definitely playing 4D at the back end of last year was extremely tough. Liam, I've heard great things about him, and obviously he can go with Deck on that left hand side, which does make a huge impact. Having those, a right and a lefty out there can make a massive difference. Just things happen quicker. You don't have to turn to make things happen. And then I guess Tom Barry, I've known Tom for a long time, played with him a few years back down in Sheffield, and he does all the little things right. Again, he's not going to put up massive amounts of points, but I think with the team that we're assembling, he doesn't need to. And I think that's the beauty of it this year, that last year we were relying on people to potentially do things that is out of their comfort zone and they've never done before. So I think Tom is just going to be a solid defenseman, and he's nice and strong, clear the net, but plays the right way. And knowing him as well, I don't know Liam, but knowing Tom, I think he'll fit into our room as well. He's got that right attitude of working hard and would do anything for, he'll block shots and things like that. So do anything for the boys. So I think that's exciting as well. And like Matty said, it takes a bit of the pressure off of the top guys. So Deck in particular doesn't have to play 35 minutes, because towards the end of the year, he just, naturally his body was just starting to break down a little bit, which you'd fully expect after playing that amount of games and that amount of minutes. And then when we do need him in those big games, he hasn't got that same jump that he normally has at the start of the period or start of the game. So I think that'll be massive as well, just having more people to spread the load a little bit, and then we can rely on the guys that need to get the business done at the end of the periods or the end of the games, or even then, as Matty says, after Christmas and into the run up to playoffs.
Thanks for that one, Chris. So I've got a little bit of a question for the two of you now, really. I don't know if you both want to chip in, but it's more a case of the coaching balance, of course. I want to know sort of the behind the scenes. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in this one of how you two work together. Of course, might have been a forward, yourself being a defenseman, Chris. About how does this dynamic work? Who leads? Who do you each focus on? Your particular areas? Just a lot of people listening will have never worked with a professional hockey club. They'll never seen the behind the scenes. They won't know what goes into this planning and training to see that finished product that we all see on a Sunday night at the Hull Ice Arena. Do you just want to give maybe a few of us a bit of an insight into what that's like as a coaching duo?
Yeah, I'll answer that. I think, look, for me, last year was sort of a little bit unknown. I was still sort of intending to play, with sort of an eye on knowing that it was going to be very difficult to be able to do that. So, my focus was a little bit more sort of just trying to make the team like good enough to compete every night. We had it was just such a weird start. Like, we didn't have the imports, the lines that I had in my head that I wanted to go with. It just didn't quite get there. So, there was a lot of times me and Chris would just have a conversation, and we do talk a lot about lines and drills and whatever we need to get done. And for me, it was just one of them things where we just had to keep trying to find a way. And Chris was sort of just the driving force in terms of, if I needed him to play forward, he would. If I needed him back there. And the best thing about Chris is he like he's just said there, he's completely fully aware of himself and what his game is and what his potential is. And he's be the first person to say, look, like, hey, I need to come away from this. Or if he sees someone struggling, he'll start, playing himself, a few more minutes, or get a few more shifts in. If we need him on the PK, he'll jump. It's sort of just a natural thing. I think, look, we're both new to this, and it's sort of, we're sort of learning as we go. I think, I mean, you'll have to ask Chris on sort of how he sees the way I've, sort of set the team up this year and how I wanted us to play. It was very consistent. I feel like me and Chris was very aligned on what we wanted. It was a very simple system what we wanted to do, and it made it very easy for sort of the third line to go and do a job. Towards the end of the season, when we had more bodies, we started pushing the D forward a little bit, and we just sort of changed there. But again, like me and Willie, just it just takes a 5-minute conversation, and we both see it very similar. And if he's got, if he sees something, he'll tell me, and vice versa. It's for me, it's such an easy relationship for me, and it's just respect. I respect Willie, and I'm 100% sure he respects me, and that's just how it goes. And we both trust each other to do the right things and make the right decisions. But yeah, it's pretty easy, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that there's two parts to that, is that we both have, I think, the same kind of philosophy and ethos to it. So then you don't almost need to ask the other person what should somebody be doing, because we're both on the same page. And secondly, is that trust element. And as Matty said, yeah, I trust him completely. And if he wants to do something a different way to how I do, trust in that process. So I think the other thing that works quite well is I think most people that know us both will know that we're probably the complete opposites in terms of, Matty.
Hey, mate, that goal at the end of the season was decent, mate. Don't put yourself down.
I mean, personalities as well. In terms of a bit more hot-headed than I am. It takes a lot for me to get really angry, and I'm probably sometimes overly positive. But I think that we bounce off of each other with that as well. So if we need good cop, bad cop, we can do that as well. So, and we had to do that a couple of times in the year there as well. But I think it's just that trust, knowing what each other wants, and ultimately I think we've both got the team at the heart of it as well. Every decision that we make, and Matty said it there was a couple of games I just basically said to Matty, I'm not going anymore. because I wasn't doing what I should be doing out there, and I was almost becoming a bit of a liability to the team. And I think, you know, I've got no problem saying that to Matty, and I know that Matty will actually respect that as well, rather than being like, oh, you're just wrapping it in or whatever. So yeah, I think it works. It works very well.
So after a year of this partnership, do you either of you see as anything that has to change? Have you developed? Have you sort of put anything different into place for this year, or has everything you sort of worked on and sort of developed essentially, you know, on the fly? You know, I say you're both pretty new to this last year. You know, getting a hold, you know, of running a team, coaching a team. Was everything a success? You know, is it anything going to change this year, or is it a case of you've had a bit of a sit down? You know, you're happy with how it's going, and everything just continues a status quo.
Well, I think for me, it's a case of you're never the finished article, and there's always things you want to work on. I've said this a couple of times now in different interviews, but you know, my career's over. You know, I was a how do you even say? I was a very intense player in terms of like the way and what I demanded of myself and players was probably too far at times, and it's probably why I am where I am now, because I just, you know, I probably burnt the candle just too much. So for me now that's sort of over with, and you know, with this new role that I am now, it's I'm trying to sort of not change necessarily, but you know, I don't know what Willie would say to this, but I think I've probably surprised myself this year in terms of I've kept fairly, like, you know, don't get me wrong, I've lost my head a few times, and that's just natural for me. I just can't help that. But you know, I've tried to stay level-headed as much as possible. It's also very difficult for me because obviously I have the owner's hat on as well. You know, I've got the coaching side, but then I've also got the owner's side, and that's where Chris really does help, because you know he is away from that, but he's also on my team. He's a player, but he's also on my team as well, which I see as us as a team and the coaching staff. And yeah, look, you know, if I'd love to have time to have a sit down, me and Chris both don't have time for that. We both got young kids, and we don't even need it. We both know each other so well. It just takes one text or, you know, a phone call. It's, you know, we know each other so well that it's just, you know, something that we maybe think we need to change, then it's done, and we'll just get it done. And you know, I think for me, the change for this season coming, and you know, I don't like to say too much in terms of what we are going to be and stuff like that, but I would say there's a lot more pressure this year. You know, Chris knows the team that we are signing, and it's going to be very good. And I think people are going to be extremely probably surprised, you know, from what we was to what we're going to be. It's completely different. We're going to be a completely different sort of setup, and the way we are as a club, it just needs to professionalize. You know, when there's more money at stake, let's just be honest, then you know that then becomes more pressure and more, you know, eyes on it. It does become something where, you know, you lose a game and it's not all right. Last year we kept hearing the same thing: oh, we're new and we're a new club and we're a new team. And you know, the first week we get everyone in is going to be, you know, we'll have a big meeting, and it'll be, you know, quite apparent that last year is dead, it's gone. I don't want anyone sort of bringing it up, or you know, there was a few too many times where the attitude just got, you know, sort of not feeling sorry for ourselves, but it was more sort of, you know, we are this team, we are not very good, we are bottom of the league. And you know, for me, it's all a case of mental. It's a mental side of it, and in terms of what we think we are. You know, we'll put it out on the ice. If we think we're the best team in the league, we'll work to be that. And other teams are going to have to adjust to what we are now, because they'll come in with the perception that we're still bottom of the league. You're only as good as your last game. It doesn't matter who we sign. They'll come in and have the impression that we're just all Seahawks and we're new club and we're bottom of the league. But you know, from day one, I want to change everything to and that's just down to results and how we deal with ourselves in terms of beating teams that are good teams, and we have to do that. But yeah, I mean, my side of it, yeah, it's just there's a lot more pressure. We have to be a little bit harsher at times. Look, we have to have a good room, and that's a massive importance for me. Like Chris has said, and the lads really did get along well. We all did. It was a great room last year, and I'm still, I'm 33, 34 this year, and it's hard for me because I wish I was playing in a way, because I'm still of an age where I should probably be playing, and it's just an hard one that I'm not. So in my head at times I am just a player, like in a way, I still have the banter with the lads and still, get involved with that stuff. But, for me, I have to try and take myself away at times. And, because when I was a player, I was right in the middle of everything, and, probably the world's worst for that. So, and that's probably what Chris can talk about more than me. I've tried to separate myself and sort of come away from the lads at times, just because I need to keep that distance. So, that the words that I say and come across as, they mean something, and they're not just false promises or, false threats. And Chris is in the same boat, but a little bit different. Like you said, good cop, bad cop. And Chris is still in the changing room every day, still with the lads. And Chris is a really nice guy as well. And that's the thing. He's still, everyone will talk to him about things. They'll ask him things. He's obviously the head of, the physio side and everything that needs to be done. So he deals with people on that side of it. If they've got a problem, Chris will be, the first person they go to. Someone comes to me and say, I've got something, I just go speak to Willie. Like, I don't even want to get involved in that. Willie deals with everything in terms of injuries or knocks, and I don't even ask or get involved. Chris comes to me and tells me what the issue is, or if there is an issue, how long he thinks it's going to be, and that's it, done. I don't even have to get involved in any of that. So yeah, look, there's we had a really good thing, but there's things that we have to improve, of course. I'm looking to be a top 4 team, and for me that's got to be professionalism, harder. We've got more bodies, so training's going to be very different, and it's going to mean more. It's going to have to mean more because of what's at stake.
Right, another question for you then, Chris. Obviously, you're assistant coach now, and obviously you're still playing. So future ambitions for yourself. Do you ever see yourself in the future taking the hot seat and becoming a head coach?
Tough question. I think it's a twofold question for me. Would I like to? Yes. But I think a little bit of it does come down to the financial stability as well. I've got a full-time job outside of hockey, and hockey's almost my release from the day job. So would I like to? Yeah, I would. I'd like to give it a go, but I think doing it at a full-time, the amount of time that Matty puts into this is enormous. So I think it's not something I've fully considered yet. My plan is to just keep playing as long as I can and help out on obviously the medical side and also the coaching side of it as much as I can. And I think at the minute it's kind of the perfect balance for me, really, because it's Matty does the lion's share of the coaching, and I can be that voice in the dressing room that Matty was saying, making sure that the message that's coming across is consistent and what we're looking for. So I think at the moment, no, but never say never in the future.
Well, it's that time of this piece now where we're going to move on to a bit of a Q&A with some members of the official supporters club. Of course, if you do want to get involved with that, it's not too late. Membership's just £15 for the full 23-24 season. Your benefits include a supporters club official membership card, 10% discount on your Seahawks merchandise, excluding jerseys, entry into a monthly prize draw from September 23 to April 24. You'll also receive player signing news 24 hours prior to the official announcement, whenever possible. And that's how some lucky people have got to send in a question for Chris. You'll also get discounted admission for the end of season awards and some other Seahawks social events. as well as first refusal for away bus travel subject to demand. Well, first of all, gents, I'll pick your brain. It's something that was probably needed, wasn't it? We didn't have something like this last year.
Yeah. I think, it was something I put to the fans in one of the forums. I can't remember which one it was, but I said, look, the club's more than happy for someone to step in and do one of these, supporters clubs. Pretty much every team I've been on, other than Hull, to be honest, has always, had supporters clubs or, people within the club that are helping and putting nights on and, different events. And I think for me, the biggest thing would be, we at the end of the season, we had a game in Peterborough and we had probably, 50 fans there, maybe 70 fans. And it just made a massive difference. They was all just sat up there and it does make a difference. The lads will, maybe say it don't, but, when you're playing and they're there and you just feel like you've got that support and they've got your back and, it feels like you're not just playing to an away crowd and, you've got the people bigger as such. So yeah, and it'd be great to get some consistent away fans in all the games that we go to.
Okay, so some lucky people have put in a question for Chris. I'll start off with this one. So the question is from Callum. He's asked, what were the biggest learning curves for you last season and what are your aims for the club for the upcoming season?
I think the biggest learning curve from last year was just the amount of young lads that we had. And I think I haven't played on a team with that many guys that are, this is their first experience of senior hockey. And I think there was a few times that we kind of had to say to people, don't sit on your phone before a game, just simple things like that I haven't had to consider for years. But then that's just the generation that are coming through. So that was probably the biggest thing to think, things that I thought were a given in terms of work ethic and commitment and things like that. You potentially had to speak to people about that, as well as, just the when we got really short and a lot of guys hadn't played that number of games and weren't used to it. And it is difficult when you see people, we train Thursday, Friday, then you've got Saturday, Sunday games. You're seeing the same faces all the time. And when you're not winning, sometimes things can get a little bit difficult. So I think, that was tough as well, trying to be just upbeat all the time, coming to the rink and having a laugh and trying to relax a little bit, knowing that there was these guys that hadn't been in that situation before. I think that was, and what was the second part of the question? Sorry.
So it was, I'll just double check. It was aims for the club for the upcoming season.
I think to reverse the table from last year, and Matty said it earlier, I think everybody that's signing is under no illusion that last year was the start of something, but it absolutely can't be the same again next year. It just can't be from the team that we've signed, but also the expectations that are there as well. And I'm fairly confident that it won't be.
Thanks very much for that one, Chris. Another one that's come in. This one's from Andy. This one is: did you enjoy your brief spell running the bench while Matty was not at the ice arena? Or would you have rather log those minutes on the ice?
Did I enjoy it? Yes. I like being on the bench. It's nice. It's a different experience. But I think at the moment, I think being aware that, I am coming to the end of my hockey playing career, I think I want to play as much as I can for as long as I can. So it's twofold. And I spoke to Matty loads about this. I am more than happy to do either role. I'm more than happy to play as a forward and play 3 minutes, 5 minutes a night. And I'll give my all for those 3 and 5 minutes, but or play on D or stand on the bench, whatever's going to help the team the most is what I'll do. And wherever I see myself or Matty sees myself being, that's where I'll be. Because ultimately I want to win as well. I'm not as passionate as Matty externally, but I think internally I absolutely am. You know, I hate it. You know, my wife will be the first person not to speak to me after we've lost, because I'm just grumpy. I just don't like it. People at work the next day get it if we haven't done great or we haven't performed well. I think more than just losing.
We certainly know all about Matty's passion for being up on the gantry. We hear it quite often. Final question. This one's from Ryan. So what's your thought on getting called the GOAT by the A Block Massive?
My first thought was it was a complete joke, and I thought people were having me on a little bit. And I said this to Matty and Joe towards the end of the year. Yeah, I love it. I love it now. I know they're not joking, or I think they're not joking. And you know, someone telling you they love you right before they go out onto the ice. It's a nice feeling. That I saw him in Peterborough, and it was that's why I thought I'd just cash in one of my tokens because I haven't got many left. So I thought I'd add it as a shorty as well. That's not very often that. When I told my old man that I scored, he was like, "Oh, well, that's out of the ordinary," and I was like, "Yeah, it's short-handed. Don't think I've done that before, but that was just for him."
No, it's been absolutely fantastic. Obviously, we thank you for all your contributions tonight. I say, hopefully, we'll get to do some more of these, throughout the season. With ourselves on Beverley FM, and with partnerships with the Seahawks and the official supporters club. I've just got to say thanks very much. First of all, for joining us, Chris. Absolute pleasure to have you on.
Well, welcome. Been enjoyable.
And Matty as well, of course, for taking some time out your holiday. You could have been sort of getting some of that. What's it called? After sun, yeah.
Do with that.
But no, well, thanks very much. It's been an absolute
Gone
pleasure.
for a full bottle. Still don't help.
For a bottle. But no, well, thanks very much.
No, cheers, lads. It's always a pleasure coming on, boys. Anytime. So, see you next week.
Thanks very much and enjoy. Cheers.